say to y'all brothers, it's humbling for me to stand up here before you all in your presence because you have inspired me so much. And I just want to say thank you off the script for a moment. Thank you, because we are going to take this word to every nook and every cranny, and we are working. I heard the brothers talk about what happened in Chicago, 4th of July. It's happening here too, and it hurts us. But that pain is our fuel until we get the job done. Word is bond. Word is bond. So, moving forward, looking forward, you know, the next brother coming up, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. When I was learning about Islam, I loved Muhammad Ali. I love Muhammad Ali because he taught us how to fight. But he taught us how to fight with style, class. He could talk to the enemy, right? But he could deal with the enemy. And that's what brother has done for me. Because many of us just like to fight. But that don't make you a soldier. We got to be effective today. And that's why Minister Farrakhan has pointed us to brother's work. All praise is due to Allah. So how do we fight today? We fight by casting truth at falsehood until we knock out its brains. Somebody said it earlier today at the bookstore that some of us have used Google and we've begun to think that we've done the work. Because I can take my phone and I can copy and paste. I'm guilty sometimes. But I study. But when you want to oppose an invincible truth with YouTube scholarship, this brother right here has put the death nail in YouTube scholarship. Because I'm myself and tired of hearing this talk about our minister behind a camera and your following of 20 people. Thanks to these brothers' work, those days are over. And I know a little bit more about the brothers because, you know, I follow them on Facebook. So I know this is more than just symbol and game. I read the brothers' work and their posts, and I follow. I read the Final Call newspaper. I follow. But not everybody really knows about the substance that comes behind it. Brother Philip, you said that we're trying to make Islam fun again. How are we making Islam fun? We're making Islam fun because we're winning today. We're making Islam fun because we're winning today. We're winning and defending the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and nothing better than being in the ring and handling your enemy. So let us look at who is defending Minister Farrakhan today. A native of Detroit, Michigan, Dr. Muhammad received his PhD from the University of Michigan in Islamic Studies in 2008. He has taught at the University of Michigan, Michigan State, University of Toledo, and has presented or lectured at the University of Mainz, Germany, University of Chicago, Duke University, Emory University, Morehouse University, Spelman College, and Clark Atlanta University. Why am I pointing that out? Because you're dealing with a man who has devoted his life to an idea and to a cause, like his teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, a scholar, a laborer, a warrior for the cause of truth. And not only will we defend the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as long as he stands with Minister Farrakhan, we will fight and kill for our brother as well. And defending Minister Farrakhan, so let us bring to the stage our brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, a.k.a. True Islam.
In the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom our holy praises are forever due, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his living and exalted Christ, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is his divine reminder in our midst, the apostle of God, the messenger of God, the Son of Man today. In their names I greet you, family. The greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Now, I'm sure you're probably taken aback by my demeanor. I'm taken aback by my demeanor, but I have to be honest. Being here in Philly right now, discussing, defending Farrakhan is very emotional for me. If I were discussing, defending Farrakhan in any other city, it would not be this emotional for me. There are many ways that we can go about defending Farrakhan. He is very easy to defend. We can defend him with scripture, pointing out his place in sacred history. We can defend him as a laborer for black people for over half a century, and point out his over half a century of work, suffering, and sacrifice for black people. We can easily do that. Me, if you don't mind, I would like to defend Farrakhan from a personal perspective. Defend Farrakhan personally, by which I mean both defending Farrakhan the person and defending him on the basis of my personal experience with him. Because at the end of the day, in my mind, the most effective, most persuasive, and easiest defense of Louis Farrakhan is lifting up his personhood. There is no person that I have ever met like Louis Farrakhan. But why this defense is emotional for me here in Philly? It's because I would not have been blessed to have the personal experiences I have with the minister if it were not for Philly. If it were not for Philly. Indulge me if my emotions overwhelm me. But I'm back up a minute and say this. I've been fighting for Islam for a long time, and those of you who know me know I love this fight. But I have to say, fighting for Islam is much more fun fighting alongside my brother, our brother, Brother Phil. It's just fun throwing blows with Brother Philip. It is. I was throwing blows and I was loving it long before. But he has an element of fun to it that I didn't have before. In a very real sense, I have been blessed to experience the person and thus the personhood of Farrakhan because of you here in Philadelphia. One, I love Philadelphia. This is the city that I don't enjoy returning to any city like I enjoy returning to Philadelphia. That's very real. See, it's emblematic. See, Sister James Zetta, there's not a city I go to that I can look out and see a Sister James Zetta. And that means, see, and Brother, your words. See, when I look out, when I see you, you represent how Philly hold you down. If Philly love you, Philly hold you down. If Philly don't like you, then Philly gonna hold you down in a different way. But the irony, and it's not the irony, both the good and the bad, or the positive and the negative, that is the reason I've had the opportunity to get to know the person of Farrakhan and to offer what I believe is the perfect defense of Farrakhan. See, in Philly, if you think you feel your brother and your sister is right, you're going to ride hard for them, yes, for sir. Us. Yes, sir. If you think your brother or sister is wrong, you're going to ride hard against him. That's right. And I've experienced both. I've experienced both. And there was a controversy that was centered here in Philadelphia. A controversy that blindsided me and, to be frank, sent me deep in my feelings, confused me. It would ultimately be the germ of the first spiritual crisis I actually ever had in life since I became an atheist. But it was out of that, well, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to allude to it. I'm not going to go into the details, but in order to make my bigger point, I have to make this point. But it was that controversy emanating out of here that sent me deep in my feelings and confused me, and I reached out to the minister, but in my 24 years of being in Islam, I had reached out to the minister 100 times. I sent the minister 100 things, like many of us do. And like most of us, I had nothing. And to be frank, I had absolutely no expectation to hear anything again. But about an hour after I sent this particular email, I got a call, and it was a Sister Kim, and I didn't know it was Sister Kim, but she said, please hold for the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. He called me, and that day, that moment, began the very next phase of my life. I was able to meet with the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, and on several occasions I was still in Michigan, teaching at the university, which I loved. I'm an academic. I love the academy. The academy is teaching in the colleges and universities, the life, all of that. I love that. Did 4 years undergrad, 8 years in grad, blood, sweat, and tears, and I made sure that I was the best. And I was the best. In the classroom, with the scholarship, and I loved it. At the same time, my relationship with my spiritual father is developing, and it was germinated by a controversy that erupted here in Philly. But the controversy was still nagging. And then a point had come. A point had come where I was confused again and sunk deep in a spiritual crisis. A spiritual crisis that paralyzed me for several months, not physically paralyzed, but paralyzed. I couldn't work, couldn't do any work, couldn't do any scholarship, couldn't do nothing. I was non-productive in every aspect of my life. Every aspect of my life. I was non-productive. Then I wrote the minister a letter. A very difficult letter. Made more difficult because I had to be candid. That's all I know. That's all I am constitutionally able to be. is candid, honest. And I feared that. I'm going to be honest. I'm talking about Farrakhan. I'm not talking about me, except that the minister said, defend me by your testimony of me. And when I was blessed to sit with them in Arizona, his parting words to me was to go around the nation and tell your story. That's his words to me. Tell your story, Dr. Wesley. So I want to tell some of my story, but only for the purpose of defending Farrakhan. And to help all of you and all of you understand clearly why I love Farrakhan like I do. See, how we love Farrakhan depends on who we love. By which I mean, do we love Farrakhan, the public figure, or Farrakhan, the person? Now, if we don't have the blessing to know Farrakhan, the person, then by default, who we really love is Farrakhan, the public figure. And that's very shifting saying. Because if the public figure is about something that we like and agree with, then we like and agree with him. But if the public figure makes moves that we don't like or agree with, then our love for him changes. But if whom we love is Farrakhan the person, then words such as agree or disagree have absolutely no value. No value at all. So I wrote the apostle, having been paralyzed in life for several months. And I was very candid, and there were areas of my candor that I felt, that I feared, was my end, if you will. And though I'm always not just respectful, but deferential. Because, see, I don't know about you. When you see me, whenever the minister calls me up, I bow like a Jew at the Wailing Wall before that man. Because I know I'm in the presence, not just of a God, I'm a God, but I'm in the presence of a greater God. And Black God protocol requires that when you go before the presence of a greater God, you bow. And it don't matter where my emotions are, where my head is, I'm never a violator of Black God protocol. But when I penned the words, I knew that a regular human being, a normal human being like me or you, would have received the letter, received the words, like normal human beings do, right? Yeah, okay, well, there was no cause for offense or nothing. I wouldn't call, if I was a recipient, Brother Philip, you call him. I wouldn't call him smack you up. No, it wasn't fits like that. But a normal human being would never have responded the way Farrakhan responded. He called me. One of the reasons a normal human being would respond the way normal human beings respond, because you see, our thoughts are not his thoughts, and his thoughts are not ours. Ours is from below, and his is from on high. See, a normal human being may have taken some of that threateningly. Not threatening like what I'm going to do, but threateningly like this candle itself, and, you know, a threat to your position or threat to sense of self, because, you know, we think like that. Because we think here. The minister called and said, how much they paying you in the universities? I told him. He said, the academy is a prison for you. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta back up. The first thing he said was not. What are they paying you? The first thing he said to me, and to this day, I don't know the specific context. I never asked him. I had 1,000 opportunities. I never have. I never thought about it. Maybe next time I will. I don't know. But I never did. But the first thing he said to me was, you have proved to me, Dr. Wesley, that you are with me. Allah is my witness. The first words I heard from him, he didn't give the context. I don't know what he meant. My burden instantly fell off in my shoulder. I was wallowing. I haven't shared this with a couple people privately. I've shared it never publicly. Those words lifted me up out of the water I was drowning in. He asked me how much, what they paying you in the universities. I told him. And he said he wanted me in Chicago with him. He wanted me at headquarters with him. He said the prison is freeing you. I said the academy is imprisoning you. It's imprisoning your scholarship. You can't write like you want to write. And he was right. He said, I want to free you. I want to bring you to Chicago to do your scholarship freely. Now, you got to understand something to really appreciate what just happened. There's in many ways your brother is a tortured soul. Anybody see the movie Stigmata? See, there's a priest in there, a Catholic priest who was also an investigator. And he was a scientist by trade, and the church sent him to do investigations, and because he's a scientist by trade and insists on critical thinking, he can't do his religion no other way but critically and scientifically. And he was sent on a particular mission by the church. And he approached it like he approached every other investigation, scientifically. Here's the data, and here's the implications of the data. But his cardinal, his religious superior, wasn't interested in his pursuing that case as a scientist. He had reasons to want to cover that case up because the facts threatened the dogma of the church. And there was that moment when the cardinal was telling them, trying to tell them to stand down from this. And the priest is saying, well, this, and putting all the data on the table, and the cardinal said, no, your problem is you don't know whether you want to be a priest or a scientist. And I'll be honest, how I do my Islam, how I am the only way I'm capable of doing my Islam, coming from atheism to the 5% to here, it offends most of us. Some of you say, that nigga don't know whether he want to be a priest or a scientist. That nigga don't know whether he want to be a Muslim or a scholar. I know you say it because I read it. I hear it. Because it's actually said. And I have lived with that burden on my soul. I'm not going to lie. Being accepted as a quasi-Muslim, because I insist that my Islam will be mathematics, so I'm back to atheism. Because I insist on Islam being mathematics because God said it was, and damn it if it was, that's how I'm gonna do it. But let's keep it 100. Doing Islam as mathematics in our nation is very difficult and torturous. Today, it is. Because we don't do Islam as mathematics no more. Mathematics is a threat to most of how we do our Islam. And that was torturous for me, for my soul. It was part of the factors that sunk me into my spiritual crisis. And see, if my religious superior was his religious superior, he would be shut up. He would be isolated, alienated. What did my religious superior do? He said, come to headquarters, I want to free you to do your scholarship. Totally free. He said to me when we were in Phoenix, he said, notice Dr. Wesley, I don't interfere with you. This is what he said to me. He said, notice, Dr. Wesley, I don't interfere with you. He said, go around the nation, share your thinking, your scholarship, share your story with the nation. I have never been so free in my life. I remember my first weekend in Chicago, sitting in my car, overwhelmed by the sweet, sweet taste. That moment for life. I had a moment for life moment. While how I do my Islam, see, understand, we in the nation, we've gotten real cookie cutterish.
Come on, man. Wake us up. Make it plain. Go ahead, man.
And real tyrannical. We think that how we understand Islam is what Islam is. We fail to understand and thus appreciate that what I learned in a 5% nation, the value of C-style wisdom. See, you can examine, encounter, experience the teaching in your way, draw it up and have your understanding of it. At the end of the day, it's your understanding of Islam. Nothing less, nothing more. If you throw on the table the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what you are proffering is your understanding of what that man is saying. But I may understand it differently. And as students, we deliberate, we dialogue with our various understandings, and joyfully, mutually respectfully, and maybe we can come to a general understanding. But when we think our understanding is the understanding and then go the next step, which is the problem, that if your understanding is different, you're a hypocrite. And if I had a half a penny for every time I've been called a hypocrite, simply because I do my Islam the way I do my Islam, I wouldn't need the minister to pay me more than what the universities paid me. The minister respects, facilitates, and frees us to engage this word, this life-giving teaching as God, not as worshipers. A worshiper doesn't engage the religion critically. That ain't what our calling to this is. But if that's how you do your Islam, then power to you. I don't call you a hypocrite. That's how you do your Islam. I may call you a number of things, but not hypocrite. I may call you dogmatic, may call you what. But I won't call you a hypocrite. But that's how you do your Islam. You do your Islam. You got license to do it. But when most days, no matter how hard I work for this which I love, no matter how I sacrifice as an academic, risking every single thing I worked for, because I insisted on proving this. And when I was writing my dissertation, they could have ended my career before it ever got started. I had Farrakhan on the brain the whole time I wrote my dissertation. I constructed it in such a way with him in mind, because the ultimate objective for me was not submitting it to the dissertation committee for them to read it. I had to do that, but after that, he was the reader that I had in mind. I wanted him to read it. But I knew everything that I worked for that cost me my family, that I was likely throwing it out. So when you ride like that for your nation, and then you treat it as quasi. Most days I felt like I had no nation. Keep it on. But whenever I felt like that, the minister would call. The minister. The way I do my Islam threatens most religious people, and it would threaten religious people in any religion, because critical thinking is outlawed in most religions. So there's a sense in which I don't blame us too much, except I do, because we the 5%. We're not supposed to ever do our religion like that. We do our religion like that only because there's 85% in the Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam is supposed to be the 5%. But how I do my Islam, I know it's threatening, I get that. Because religion don't know how the way this world does religion. You can't accommodate fact. Fact threatens religion, all religions, because religion, most of religion is a construction of the men of the religion. And in order to secure what they constructed and the power, prestige, and money that construction gives them, they have to quarantine their religion from facts that are shattered. That's how most religion in the world is done. I'm a historian of religion. So I say that not as a Muslim tortured by the fact. I say it as a historian of religion for the last 24 years, has professionally studied or taught the history of religions in the global context. It's a fact that all religions of the planet Earth have developed to a state where it needs to be quarantined from facts, because facts will topple most of the tenets of all of the established religions. And our Islam itself is not so threatened, but so many of our understanding of Islam is exactly the same. And so the marriage of critical thinking, the emphasizing, the privileging of critical thinking in the context of religion threatens every religion. So I ain't too mad at some of y'all. Some of y'all I ain't too happy with. But most of us, just partly playing. But the point is, I would be a threat. Not me, I'm sorry, it's not about me. But this way of doing religion would be a threat in every religion and to every religious superior. But you're my religious superior. Exalted me. Gave me the freedom to pursue it unhindered. The academy, when I was in the academy, it didn't allow me to pursue my scholarship with the freedom and resources that Farrakhan allows me to do it. And so that says this is the type of person we got in Farrakhan. That speaks to the personhood, the integrity of that man, Farrakhan. Produce for me a person. I say produce for me a leader, like Farrakhan. Produce for me an orator like Farrakhan. Produce for me a person like Farrakhan who has the personhood of Farrakhan. And this is why, it's a personhood of Farrakhan is why when you see me and hear me riding for him like I would kill concrete, and I will, it's very personal. It's personal because it's the person of Farrakhan that's worthy of killing concrete for. And be real clear, I want to say the person of Farrakhan also means the personhood, meaning not just his individual display of that type of personhood, but that personhood that he displays must be protected because it must be reduplicated. It must be reduplicated. Only when we are able to imitate the personhood of Farrakhan is there the possibility of black liberation. Is there the possibility of peace in our community? And this is why the attacks, the disrespect is so unacceptable. And this is why we locked and loaded and fully off safety. Because we need our people to experience and emulate, grow into the personhood of Farrakhan. And when you cast aspersions, not you, when they cast aspersions on Farrakhan, when they scandalize Farrakhan, they are isolating him and his personhood from the community that needs his personhood. They like Khalid and Kwame Ture and all of them, and I like them too. Marcus Garvey, Prophet Noble Drew, I like them too. But there's something fundamentally different here that requires treating him, Farrakhan, like you don't treat none of the others. I want to say what that something is so we're real clear. That's something that demands that we, all of us as a community, treat Farrakhan differently than we treat everyone in the history books, no matter how great they are. The difference is Farrakhan is a living personhood that we need now to be the type of people we need to be. You can't read, let's be real clear. Let's be real clear. We can read about the Honorable Marcus Garvey's greatness, and we can get some anecdotes of what he did and how great he was, but that's fundamentally different than having living personhood among us to emulate. There is no one you can raise from the grave through the history books that will have the value of Farrakhan while he's here. Yes, when he's gone, he's going to fall into that too. His value will not be what it is, but God damn it, it is what it is now. He's here. And there's an urgency. There's the urgency that we protect that which is the salvation of black people. What is salvation of black people? This ain't no personality worship. I don't do that. I don't do the cult of personality thing. But I do the appreciation thing. I do the proper acknowledgement thing. The way he does his humanness. I have seen him adjudicate matters very difficult. And that human has justice. He has grown to an exercise of justice that is divine. And see, the problem in the black community, the problem with all of us niggas, nigger Muslims, nigger Christians, nigger Moors, nigger RBG, one thing that makes our community so foreordained to perpetual doom is that from one level, from the smallest level to the greatest, we are incapable of really dealing justly with each other. Justly. Justice and fair dealing protects life or snatches it out. The absence of it snatches it out. And we are very selective with who we are capable of being just with. From the smallest thing to the biggest, we are really incapable of being truly just and fair dealing with people because our emotions get into play, and the minister just taught on Tuesday. See, for example, when we judge the laborers, we say, well, why don't he bust so-and-so? He ain't doing nothing. he's unproductive, he's this, he that. Why the minister keep him there? And the minister said, well, yeah, that may be. A laborer may have offended us. And the laborer may have been wrong. The laborer may have been unjust. And because he offended us, he hurt my feelings. Farrakhan, you need to bust him. As if his or her total value in this work is dependent exclusively on how he or she relate to us personally. So because he or she offended me, he or she has no value in Allah's work. That ain't justice, but that's how we do justice across the board. We are incapable of being truly just. And that's why, not incapable, we are capable. But it requires us to have a living example of the mizan, the balance, the scales of justice in our mix, and that is Farrakhan. And you will see in some video, you will see him deliberating on very difficult matters, and the way he deals justly is inhuman. And this is why niggas better watch their mouth with Farrakhan. Niggas better watch their mouth with Farrakhan. Because there is nothing black people need more than justice. In our homes, on our jobs, our children suffer from the lack of justice, from horrible parenting. There is nothing we need more than justice and fair dealing, and so much of our life is stressed because we can't get justice anywhere. Our husbands don't give us justice. Our wives don't give us justice. And this man is the only one I know capable, because justice, true justice, requires our inability to raise way above ourselves. True justice demands it being measured out whether it's for or against us. And most of us ain't there. We may approach it, but if the justice is measured against us and we are the ones measuring it out, and if what's due to us is justice that don't just hurt a little, but hurt, we ain't gonna adjudicate fair. But we need to be. So Farrakhan needs to be known and loved by every single black person, because every single black person needs to be acquainted with his fairness and justness, because only when we are acquainted with his fairness and justice can we get it that it actually exists. And then we can be just to our wife. We can be just to our children. We can be just to our employees. Farrakhan's personhood is more valuable than anything I know right now. For the immediate of black people, even more than the knowledge of Master Farrakhan Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to say that again and then clear it up. I didn't say Farrakhan is more valuable than Master Farrakhan Muhammad or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That ain't what I said. And just a caveat, when you listen to your brother, I'm anal about word usage. Most I say, because I'm a historian, I know words have meanings, so I use a word with those meanings. And I select the words whose meaning convey the point I want to make. Now, most of us, we know we're real lax and loose with that. We do approximations, that's sufficient and all of that. But you know, I try really hard to say precisely what I mean. Too often we don't hear that with such precision, but I didn't say Farrakhan is more valuable than Master Farad Muhammad. I'm going to close here. Or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I said it's more important for black people today to know Farrakhan than Master Farad Muhammad or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if I come to somebody, the first thing I'm not going to teach them is Master Farad Muhammad. The first thing I'm going to teach them is about themselves. You God. That's the first thing. The next thing is, I can show you a living illustration of the black man that's God. I'm going to take you to a book. Because Farrakhan is the living exemplar, the living manual. What we need is a manual of life. We need a manual of life. How do we live this life successfully? How do we live this black guy life successfully? If you don't have the manual, the how-to manual, you can't do it. Farrakhan is a living manual. And so in order for us to really get to know how to live that, in order for black people to know how to live this life and benefit from living this life, they need Farrakhan. They need to know Farrakhan, not for Farrakhan's sake. Not for Farrakhan's sake. They need to be acquainted with his personhood so they know it's real. They know divine humanity is real. Don't have to read it in a book. So, we're defending Farrakhan. We're defending his person. We're defending his personhood because we're defending the hope of black people. Assalamu alaikum.
All praise are due to Allah.